Hi guys. It's me, Voss. It is currently 6 in the morning, if I'm looking at that right. 5:45 in the morning. And, yeah, I know this is pretty random. I've never really made content like this, but, this is gonna be a storytelling arc. I'm gonna try my best to replicate some of the builds and, scenery from the earlier debuts of Korza, and we will see how it goes. So, in any case, I hope you enjoy, and I look forward to seeing how this progresses, as far as you guys seeing the video. Forgot I have to move, otherwise you will all lose patience with the video, and just be like, huh, what the fuck is this dumb bastard doing? Anyway, enjoy. This is Korza. Young, unknowing of what would really come out of it. Unknowing of what he would become. Korza thought that if he could just get through his day and make some friends, what else mattered? But little did he know the difference that a house would make. As anyone would when starting out on a new journey with a new world prepared to create, he found himself some friends in this world called, or rather known as, the Lilican Empire. The Lilican Empire was named so for its queen, Queen Lily. Lily was known to be eccentric with her ruling, often finding herself in the middle of wars and chaos. But after her conquest, into the end, she found herself relatively at peace. And one would think, with the newfound peace, that it would last perhaps just 100 years. But no one could have ever assumed the war coming. At the very least, no one seemed to assume that Korza, its little, well, nobody, could start up a revolution. That being said, Korza didn't really start the revolution. No, he only influenced it. And with this influence, he would find himself on the forefront of many endeavors, both from the revolution and Queen Lily. See, Queen Lily thought she had found a kindred spirit. For Korza was a knight. A knight who wore a fantastic ruby set of armor. The Rosed Knight, some would call him. Even going as far to make sure he always carried with him an emblem of the rose on his chest. Finding her kindred spirit, Lily would begin to trust Korza, thinking nothing of it. No issues could ever possibly happen, as Korza could be trusted, and no rebels could dare make a move with the combined military force that Lily had in her arsenal. Fortunately for Lily, she did not know how convincing the members of her kingdom could be to a young lad like Korza. This trust was built with Lily, another, under the name of Charlie, would be able to convince Korza to do whatever she so desired. For Korza was enamored with this girl. He didn't know of any consequences, any issues that could ever arise from her, as he saw her as perfection. Not only was she kind-hearted to him, but she was beautiful in every way that mattered to him. That is not to say Korza was completely innocent in this matter, for he knew that there was most certainly a chance. Charlie wanted nothing more than his help in taking down the queen. He would start off by missing a few supplies here and there, also finding hidden stashes for the queen. But not every stash would be found, no. And the ones that were seemed meager and seemed to put the queen at ease. For if they were trying to hide such meager equipment, how could they ever stand against her? Surely the rebels would know that there's no possible way they could get by with their meager supplies of iron armor when the queen had discovered netherite. Formed from the ancient debris of ancient cities and bastions within the nether. Stronger than diamond and immune to fire. She went about her day, completely convinced that there is no chance that anyone could ever stand against her. Or so she thought. Though it would seem that Korza was dastardly planning an evil coup, that he was a true mastermind behind it all. He had no idea what he was doing. Such a strange thing. A mastermind without a clue, without a care. He simply wished for the revolution to come and go, so he may return to his castle that is still yet unbuilt. But Charlie and Lily would not be the only advocates pushing him towards this revolution. Oh no, there was another. A young man, who for the time being we will call Will. Will was quite as anxious as anybody else to start this war. In fact, he was the one who initiated many plans. The idea to even hide or report some of the smuggled items was his alone. And that was not his only plan. For he planned to make himself a martyr, not by death or anything else, but simply start the war and become part of it. He would destroy his own home, a bunker made near the Queen's palace, destroying it, obliterating it, causing unrest between the revolution and the Queen's and her kingdom. Who had done this horrible thing? It's the close friend of the Queen and the close friend of Charlie, leader of the revolution. No one had answers yet, but they soon would. Vying for peace, however, the Queen and Charlie would make a deal. Not to attack each other, but also that Charlie was no longer allowed to break any rules or laws pertaining to the Queen and her want, or rather need, to have a peaceful country. This would enrage Will. His plan has failed, completely shattered, making things in his eyes worse as peace was found between the two leaders. This peace was upheld. Anything and everything he had worked for will be dropped into the dust, never to be spoken of again. But he still had a plan. He thought to himself as he built a house made of wood. A plan that would put everyone into the dirt with him. All it needed was one poor fellow to come along and believe him. Having completed his house, Will would make his way to Korza'a. It was down, groveling in the dirt, trying to construct a wall for his soon-to-be-made castle, he thought. But Will had an idea, something that could quickly bring this war that seemed looming over to the horizon to everyone. Very quickly, very swiftly. I would like you to gather witnesses to see my house be burnt, sparking the revolution correctly. You see, Will was smart. He thought, well, if this house was reconstructed for peace, if we burn it down, each side would blame the other, sparking the war. So it began. Korza''s corruption. There was no way to stop it. He would search about the lands, finding himself in the swamps, in the dark forest, the plains, the oceans, the woods, the mountains, the villages, the spruce biomes, down in caves and dark waters. Through the flowers, the meadows, and everything else, gathering them to come join him for a great feast, a festival, to be held in honor of peace. But when they arrived, they did find a feast. They also found something more. Something none of them wanted to see. A house that stood for peace began to burn. No one knew where the fire was, but they knew it was too late as it quickly engulfed the entire building. It was clear to any bystander that it could not be saved. It was too late. But who had done this? Certainly not Will, for he was truly the victim, was he not? Surely not Korza. He invited everyone, of course. But who else could have done it? These were all thoughts that rushed through their minds as they struggled to find the iron buckets to put out the water. But no chests could be found with them inside. But everyone knew it was too late. Korza, using a magic crystal, would send this information to the queen. Will, using the same magic, send it to Charlie. And as the fires seemed to have died down for the house, the flame of war was sparked again. And this time, there would be nothing left of one of the sides. With a job well done, Will and Korza's plan had finally come to fruition. The house was gone, and the queen ordered an audience with Charlie and her rebels. Charlie, knowing that Korza was a spy for them, would not say or request that Korza join them in the fight, or even in the negotiations. But the queen saw him as a double agent. She also would not request him in the fight, nor did she request him to show up during the negotiations. However, surprisingly, Korza would find himself leading the negotiations. And he would be the one to set the date for the battle to decide the entire war. The negotiations would seemingly find their place at an end, with a date set to fight killing, if they must, in one battle only. You see, Korza did not want any of his friends to die. Somewhat foolish of belief. But he had convinced both parties nonetheless. Unfortunately for Charlie, she thought she was gaining the better end of the deal. But she was not. One thing I forgot to mention, in this world, everyone has 3 lives. 3 chances to get it right. So, while a war didn't seem too dangerous to those who still had their 3 lives, it was and will always be highly dangerous for the rest. Fortunately for Charlie and Lily's armies, all of them had 3 lives, so they were not worried. But back to Charlie's unfortunate dependence on her friends. Will, who seemingly was on Charlie's side the entire war, was planning to take up with Lily in the final confrontation. Charlie would find herself with only 2 companions to her back. Unfortunately, they were much less freedom fighters and more so freedom speakers, and they would not be of any help on the battlefield. Charlie herself would not be of any help on the battlefield, for she knew how to lead, but not how to act within a war. This would come as no shock to Lily, who took the deal fully knowing that without Korza, Charlie would never stand a chance. And so it was, just as quickly as it had begun. Charlie would find herself alone against the Lilican Empire's army. Her 2 companions used one of their 3 lives each and died on that battlefield, while Lily's army was strong and capable, unbreaking. Lily would offer Charlie a choice: to live on in her precious flower shop, to change some laws, but Charlie would never again take up arms. That was the deal she would have to make. So it was. That was the deal Charlie took. She knew she had lost, that there was no hope of anyone coming. And unlike the fairy tales, she was right. No help would come. Korza watched from afar, sitting on top of his walls, still yet unbuilt, still yet penetrable by invading forces, but just tall enough to see the smoke and fire. He knew no one had come. And just like that, the war ended. Peace, people thought, could finally come back to the region. But how wrong they were. As war never changes. And so, with the war over, Korza would ironically don his armor, for it would be the last time he stained it red. The ruby red knight would be no more, and in its place, Korza, the Lilican Empire, donning a dark shade of blue. Lilican's Empire, now known as the Dark Empire, would truly start to shine. Is what everyone would love to have believed. No, the Dark Empire was named this solely because it would be the end of a peaceful era, and no one seemed to know. But Korza would don his armor and make his way, preparing on a project, Obsidian Tower, to hold power over everything. He would travel throughout the forest, finding his way, finding new heights, new trees, and a whole new manner of things. He would even find civilizations, ruined portals, and ancient technology that could possibly further the goals of the Dark Empire, Loken's Empire. But it would not be so, for he would find these places and write them off. As for surely, such a little place would not mean anything, and he would return, trying to gain peace and stability throughout the land. But he would also begin to experiment. Experiments that would cost him much more than he thought. Much more than anyone thought. As Korza dabbled within the dark arts to create the tower, he would find himself in a darker and darker place. Unbeknownst to him, there were forces watching. The gods. Forces of light and dark. Happiness and sorrow. Things he assumed would not be an issue. But it was not only power that would drive him. Oh no. But another woman. You see, Korza loved. Or so he thought. Charlie. But this new woman he found, Rosalind. He would find tucked away in a modest home into the side of a hill. Everything seemed simple. At the same time, it didn't. His heart would be confused. And it would also be taken advantage of. But without even having enough time to think about what this might imply, these two women he so sought after a new faction emerged, one not led by Charlie, but another, Georgia. She too wished to rebel, and seeing that a prior rebellion had bore fruit, imagine how well an army would do. And so it began. With Korza once again being put in between both parties. He would find himself becoming more and more used and disavowed by either party, finding himself on two fronts of a war he never asked for. All the while continuing to be harassed by these gods, something he thought he would never have to worry about. But oh, how could he ever be so lucky? And so it was, and the war would continue. And he would be dragged down a dark hole. Not only would the magic of those ancient gods, the ones fighting for his soul, those of dark, those of light, but he now had a new contender. Himself. The war would not be enough. He would have to face himself, the darkness in between. For within the droning hordes of people preparing to fight, he would put himself in the dark basement of that burned house and think of what to do. Unfortunately, putting yourself in the dark only invites further darkness. And so the god of darkness and shadow would come and make him a disciple, as was always intended. Because Korza did not know his true lineage, he knew he simply wanted to live. But the god, darkness, had sent them there as an emissary, so he could take control to end the world. That is why Korza found himself so indoctrinated with building a large obsidian tower in his area, why he found himself wishing to build them in further areas. He wished to combine with them. He didn't know this at the time, however. He just knew these towers would provide him protection, and those he loved would always be under his gaze. Georgia would obviously recruit Charlie into her army, ironically making it cyan versus the dark blue of the Empire. Two sides so very, very similar, but equally against each other. Equally foolish to the pain that they would have wrought onto their people. Lives were taken. People were killed. And once again, Korza would find himself negotiating one battle to end the war. And this time, the rebels would win. George's kingdom would push the Dark Empire back into the dark, stealing their castle, remaking their laws, winning, in that final confrontation. But it would never be the end.